See this cute little vial here? It's crack, rock cocaine, the most addictive form. You think it's the glamour drug of the 80s? Well, that's the point of this fronted little reminder. It can kill you. And if you've got to die for something, this sure as hell ain't it.
In the next few months, the motion picture industry and theater owners will be bringing you a series of messages like the one you just saw. I don't think anybody will miss the point. The thrill can kill. The drug dealers need to know that we want them out of our schools, neighborhoods, and our lives. And the only way to do that is to take the customers away from the product. Say no to drugs and say yes to life.
Of course, your local drug pusher may tell you a little something different about these drugs. And who you believe is up to you. But then again, if you go ahead and try them, at least it won't be out of ignorance. Just stupidity. What would I do if someone offered me these drugs? I'd tell them to take a hike.
I'm Michael Jordan. McDonald's restaurants have given me this time to talk to you about something we both really care about, kids. Kids are the reason McDonald's sponsors their Get It Straight program, a national drug awareness effort. Think about this. Many of you using drugs out there now are under 18. Do you realize that at 18, you have lived only 1/4 of your life? When you're using drugs, you're only cheating yourself out of the chance to find out who you really can be. And believe me, if you don't use drugs, you can just about be anything you want to be. Listen, you got at least 3/4 of your life to go. That's 3 more lifetimes to you. So don't blow it. Don't do drugs. If you're doing it, stop it. Get some help. McDonald's wants you to give yourself a chance to find out all the wonderful things you really can be. And so do I.
I met Ruben Castaneda covering a homicide in the early 1990s. He was a police reporter at the Washington Post, and I worked the night shift at Channel 9. Years later, he called me with a confession. He was a crack addict and an alcoholic, and he was planning to write about it.
It feels like it's been 2 or 3 lifetimes that have passed since I was out here. This street was really a combat zone. DC today is dramatically different from the way it was.
There were shots fired, so as you can imagine, it was chaos.
I think they'd be amazed at how lawless and violent many of these neighborhoods were.
Much of Ruben Castaneda's life played out here on S Street Northwest.
I lived a reckless and dangerous double life.
Back then, in the late 1980s and early 90s, it was a lawless combat zone.
An automatic gunfire rang out.
Stained by bloody turf wars and rampant crack sales.
And they seemed to be there 24/7, 7 days a week. I know because I made buys.
Then, a respected Washington Post police reporter working nights, Ruben returned to the streets after his shift to score crack for himself.
The greatest physical feeling you've ever felt, multiply that 100,000 times and that might come close.
His lust for crack drew him to a D.C. apartment where a man he dubbed Big Man yanked him by the collar and thrust him up against a wall. Big Man's friend went to get a weapon.
I thought it could be a knife or a gun. If it was a knife, I thought I was in for some torture. I thought a gun at least would be quick.
He escaped, but continued his tumble into drug-induced despair as wasted nights melded into a blur of mornings.
And come the morning, the money's all gone, and I realized what an awful thing I'd done to myself.
Remarkably, Reuben lived to tell his story. He's been clean for more than 22 years and has written S Street Rising about his own redemption and the renaissance of a neighborhood.
I'd say that was the worst version of me, and now I try to be the best version of myself.
It's worth noting that Reuben credits the Washington Post, his former employer, with playing a critical role in his survival. It was a Post editor who first took him to rehab. Andrea McCarran, WUSA 9.
Yo, y'all know what it is. It's your boy Pop-A-Lot. Mob ties. We headed to DC with it. Hanover Place to be more exact. Now, everybody know Hanover Place in DC is notorious from the 70s. It's probably mostly known because it's close, I want to say, to where Rayful Edmonds did his thing. I want to say in Orleans, but the man that made it famous is going to be none other than Cornell Jones. Now, a little bit about Cornell Jones. Everybody might have seen him on American Gangster, where they talked about him being a drug kingpin in D.C., him starting a drug depot on Hanover Place. It's alleged that he was the one that plugged in Ray with the shit, because Tony Lewis Sr. was actually a lieutenant in Cornell Jones's organization when Cornell Jones was arrested in 1985 for that distribution charge. But since then, that's not why we even covering him, because we already knew that. We seen that. Everybody, I'm sure, probably seen American Gangster where they detailed that, and people from DC already know that. What we covering him for is because after that, I want to say in 2014, the city alleged that he scammed them out of $300,000 from a HIV/AIDS benefit that he used to open up a club. So that's going to be part of it. And we know this club. And on top of that, in 2016, I want to say he was charged with IRS or income tax fraud, 1.3 million. So yeah, he is definitely a big dog. Been almost his whole life, since the 70s. I want to say since 1975. I saw that it was first detailed. And here we have it, 2016. He's still getting it out of him, for real. So, salute to Cornell Jones. Anybody that know anybody about Hanover Place, that might know about Cornell Jones, or the tie-in to Rayful Edmonds, how that work out, y'all niggas get in the comment box. All my real niggas from DC, y'all niggas get in the comment box. You know we fuck with y'all real hard. Y'all follow me on Instagram, Twitter. It's your boy Pop-A-Lot, POP_A_LOT. Mob ties.
Cornell Jones grew up in housing projects on Hanover Place in Washington, D.C. At the age of 16, Jones robbed the Army-Navy Bank and was eventually arrested and sent to juvenile detention. Upon his release in 1975, Jones developed DC's drug trade and created the first open-air drug market in the country. He went to prison from 1986 to 1995 and is currently rehabilitating ex-cons. Jones' family moved to Hanover Place in Washington, D.C., during the 1940s. Living in the low-income Hanover Place housing projects, Jones' father tried to support the family as a bricklayer. Money was short in the Jones household, however, and Cornell frequently got by through hustling on the streets. His illegal behavior often got him into trouble at school, and at the local boys' club. At the age of 16, Jones staged his first large-scale crime, robbing the Army Navy Bank only blocks away from the Pentagon. During the police chase afterward, Jones and his associates parked their stolen car in front of the Justice Center in D.C. Police did not catch the criminals, which bolstered the boys' confidence. Jones and his friends began planning more heists while still attending high school, bringing in enough cash to get themselves cars, clothes, and jewelry. At age 17, Jones' suspicious wealth made him a target for a police investigation, and he was arrested and sent to juvenile detention for his crimes. Upon his release from prison in 1975, Jones returned to Hanover with close connections to the drug trade and a plan. Using suppliers from Thailand and Amsterdam, Jones was able to get a cheap supply of drugs funneled into his Hanover neighborhood. The money he made trafficking cocaine, heroin, PCP, and crack was used to not only give Jones a lavish lifestyle, but to help the members of his community. Cornell frequently made sure children in the community had shoes, or that neighbors could pay their rent. He also used his funds to help children in the boys' club, specifically aspiring athletes. With Jones' financial support, many basketball players were sent to private Catholic schools, given new basketballs and uniforms, and even provided with college assistance. Jones' business wasn't entirely compassionate. His money was made from draining the very community he was also helping. Not only was he cultivating his clients' tastes for certain drugs, but he also began mixing new ones. In the mid-1970s, Jones and his crew discovered a method for mixing PCP and marijuana that earned the nickname Butt Naked for its tendency to inspire its users to strip out of their clothes. Also called Love Boat, the drug frequently caused hallucinations and had violent results. Users engaged in self-harm or harm to others while under its influence. The wildly popular drug had to be created by the oil drum to satisfy the new influx of clients. In 1979, Jones was arrested for heroin possession, for which he spent 2 years in prison. By the time he was released from prison, Jones had made enough connections to become a supplier for other dealers. He set up outlets all over the world, and then used them to regularly ship large quantities of product to Hanover Place. Jones' wide variety of drug offerings, known for their high quality and generous amounts, helped to create the first open-air drug market in the country. Lines of users and dealers looking for fair prices often wrapped around the block, and Jones frequently spent $200,000 a week employing soldiers and lieutenants to keep his 24-hour-a-day franchise going. By the mid-1980s, Jones started using his ill-gotten gains to purchase legitimate businesses, including real estate and nightclubs. He had also assembled a management company that handled his purchases. The excess of wealth gained the attention of authorities, who set up a sting operation. On October 29, 1985, Jones met with a dealer, who was actually a wired informant. He was charged with 1 count of conspiracy to distribute and possess. Search warrants revealed the rest of his crimes, including millions of dollars in illegal assets. Jones negotiated a deal of 9 to 27 years in prison in 1986, and was sent to Leavenworth Federal Penitentiary in Leavenworth, Kansas. He was released in 1995, and began work at a family business in his Hanover neighborhood. He currently volunteers work at the non-profit Miracle Hands, which helps rehabilitate ex-cons. Fast forward to 2014, a former drug kingpin who received more than $300,000 from 2006 to 2008 to build a job training center to people with HIV AIDS misused the funds, a D.C. Superior Court jury found Monday. Those funds, the city has alleged, were used to build a luxury strip club. Cornell Jones and Miracle Hands, the non-profit group Jones founded after serving 9 years in prison on narcotics charges, falsified 9 documents or statements to support grants worth $329,654. the jury found after a 4-day trial and 7 hours of deliberation. Jones, once the king of the notorious Hanover Place NW drug market, converted much of those city funds for wrongful uses and unjustly enriched himself, jurors found. The district sued Jones in August 2011, alleging he had used the grants to renovate what became the Stadium Club, a popular strip club Jones co-owns on Queen's Chapel Road NE, rather than build the Job Training Center, which never opened. 2 years earlier, The Washington Post had documented the questionable use of grant funds by Miracle Hands, including a questionable relationship between Jones and the district's former HIV/AIDS housing chief, Deborah Rowe. Subsequent articles in the Washington Times explored the link between Jones, the city grants his non-profit had received, and the strip club. The coverage prompted D.C. Council member David A. Catania to request that Attorney General Irvine B. Nathan investigate Miracle Hands, leading to the 2011 lawsuit. After the district filed its suit, Jones filed a countersuit alleging defamation, which was dismissed in 2012. According to a news release issued by Nathan's office, witnesses testified that Jones moved to open his nightclub only 4 months after receiving grant funds to put the job center in the same building. District officials were not informed of those plans, and Jones and Miracle Hands submitted invoices for work that was either never done or done without permits. In a statement, Nathan said the verdict should serve as a warning to all those who would attempt to misuse district grant funds. Paul S. Blumenthal, Jones's attorney, did not immediately return an email seeking comment Wednesday evening. Fast forward to 2016, a D.C. drug kingpin who served 9 years in federal prison in a drug case and also ran up $16 million in unpaid taxes as of 1986 pleaded guilty to new tax evasion charges Tuesday in federal court in Washington. Cornell M. Jones, 58. A one-time high school dropout who along with the likes of Raphael Edmond III rose to become a prominent player in the city's rampant 1980s cocaine trade, admitted Tuesday to concealing $1.3 million due U.S. taxpayers by concealing income from businesses he ran after his release from prison. In court documents, Jones acknowledged failing to disclose $3.5 million in income in 2010 alone, including proceeds from the sale of his D.C. Tunnel nightclub and other real estate transactions on Queen's Chapel Road NE, where he also served as executive director of Miracle Hands, a D.C. government-funded non-profit counseling center for ex-felons. Did you deal extensively in cash for purposes of concealing income? U.S. District Judge Richard J. Leon asked the defendant. Yes, Your Honor, said Jones, who declined to comment after the hearing, as did his attorney, Bernard S. Grimm. Jones faces a statutory maximum of 5 years in prison. Leon set sentencing for April 14. Jones was released from prison in 1995 after being convicted of running a cocaine, marijuana and PCP ring out of Hanover Place NW. Police found $639,500 in bank safe deposit boxes and $870,000 in cash at his home, plus jewelry, furs, 28 airline tickets to Las Vegas, 5 guns, cocaine and a currency counting machine. For more information, please follow the link below the video.